recording on this computer. So Tanya today is going to share with us the 10 attributes that are in the soul, that are in the neshama. And that's how that, and we're going to try to understand how it works. All right, so here we go. He said that the soul that comes down. We spoke yesterday at length in last class about the godly soul, the godly neshama, and we said there's 3 levels to the soul of every person. There's 3 levels to the soul, and we gave 3 names for the word. Everyone knows the word neshama, but there's another word. People who speak Hebrew might probably know this word. It's called ruach. Usually we translate ruach as spirit, but it's part of your soul, part of the makeup of your soul. And then there's something else called nefesh. And all that's also part of your soul. So you have a nefesh, you have a ruach, and you have a neshama. And one is higher than the other one. The nefesh is the lowest, the ruach is one up, and neshama is the top one. Now, not talking about here, there are still 2 more levels to your soul, but they're kind of not in your body. You wouldn't recognize them in this world because they're out of your body. They're connected to Hashem in a much higher level. But within our body, in the elements, I think we once saw this translated in Tanya, at the end of Tanya, as maybe one being the emotional part of the person, one being the intellectual part of the person, and one being the physical part of the person. But he's saying, whatever these 3 souls that came down and went through that whole long journey, the birth, the pregnancy, the 9 months of pregnancy, came from a very high level to this world, all of them, each of those 3 consists of something we're going to call 10. 10, I mean, the English word here is faculties, or I don't know faculties, what that means to you. I don't know if anybody has a meaning behind faculties, but there are 10 ways they run, 10 expressions, 10 experiences, 10 feelings, 10 ideas that make up the soul, or it operates. So you could use, what are you? Or you could have different kinds of emotions that are part of you. We'll learn what they are, so we'll understand. We always use the term faculties, but finally in Tanya today, he's going to explain to you a little bit what are these 10 things that the soul operates with, or on, or from, or uses to operate. What are these 10 things? Now, why the number 10? Where does it come from? Well, the 10 that are within you, within your soul, that are your soul is using, is connected. It makes a lot of sense. As a sphere because it comes from the dynamic of 10, because it's manifested in a method of 10. Now, he's not saying in Tanya, but we all know the 10 commandments. And we all know that Hashem created the world with 10 sayings. So in operation of God's operation of the world and God's creation of the world, he specifically created it using the dynamics of 10. So somehow in creation there's dynamics of 10, and therefore everything in creation has the dynamics of 10, and therefore your soul also has the dynamics of 10. So we got some kind of 10 dynamics in our neshama, in our soul. Now those 10, nechlokes l'shtayim, we really, in order to understand how they operate, we're going to split them into 2 categories. We're going to split these 10 different attributes, characters, whatever you want to call it. We're going to split them into 2 in order to understand what they are. How do you split them? It's not 5 and 5. We're going to call them shalish imois, v'sheva kfulais. We're going to call it 3 moms, 3 mothers, and 7 doubles. And he's going to explain. He's going to explain. What does it mean, mothers and 7, or children? We'll call it sometimes children. So here's what he says. Let's talk about the 3 mothers, and then we'll get to the 7. Pirush Chachma, Bina, V'das. The first 3 are called in Hebrew Chachma, Bina, and Dat. In English, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. Wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. And the Shiva, and of the 7, Shiva Semei Binyan, the 7 days of creation. What are the 7? And he tells you the first 3. They're Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferet. Kindness, severity, and beauty. just to list the names of the other ones: endurance, splendor, foundation, and royalty. Now, if you don't have any idea what's going on now, it makes a lot of sense. What are you talking about? What's the difference between wisdom, understanding, and knowledge? What in the world's the difference between wisdom, understanding, and knowledge? And what's the difference between and those are the three mothers. And then you're talking about, why are they mothers, right? We're going to explain that right now. And what are these seven things? Kindness, severity. What's the difference between kindness, severity, beauty, endurance, splendor, foundation, and royalty? What's going on over here? So he's going to give you the beginning, just a very basic understanding of what are these 10. So he's just telling you the world is made up, the dynamics of the 10 saints that Hashem created the world, and that's why we have 10 commandments, and everything's made up of the number 10 is because it's operating with 3 mothers and 7 birth children that are created from the 3 mothers. The fact is, though, when it comes into the human soul, it also has 3 mothers, but he wants the 3 kinds of intellect, and then 7 kinds of emotions. So now he's splitting up the attributes. He's calling them, the first 3 are kind of the intellect, and the 7 are the emotions that come from the intellect. So what are the 3 first, which we mentioned? They're chachma, bina, and dat. They're wisdom. What did we call it? Wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. What are the wisdom? Let's talk about the first 3: wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. And the emotions, he just tells you the emotions are love of Hashem, fear of Hashem, awe of God, glorification of God, that your intellect will bring you to experience these emotions. You might get very excited. You might want to tell everybody what a great God Hashem is, does such miracles. You might want to share with Hashem the awe of God that you have, or the love of Hashem that you have. But why? Why are the first 3 called the mothers? Why are they called the mothers? Wisdom and understanding. Because they give birth. That's why Kabbalah, you call them mothers, because they give birth to the emotions. Because the emotions, the character, the kind of emotions you feel are created from your chachma bina das, from your wisdom. So whatever you think, you use your brain in a good way, in a strong way, to create wisdom and understanding and so on, and knowledge. And by using the 3 mothers, you understand the 7 children are created, the 7 emotions are created. So he's saying, let's spend a little bit of time understanding the difference between wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. What's the difference between? And at one time, a lot of times the way I'll use it is conception, comprehension, and application. I heard this from Rabbi Jacobson a long time ago, a very good way of explaining the way the brain works with conception, comprehension, application. And in Tanya now, he brings you in length, a little bit in the note here. I'll go through it quickly, what they are, because we're going to keep on referring to it, but we're not going to explain it at length. But here we'll just spend a little bit of time. So Chachma, he's saying, is the first flash of intellect. It's a tiny little point without any length and breadth, but it's an idea. He calls it the Barak HaMavrik, the initial flash of illumination that a person has. So I thought a good example might be, they're trying to figure out now a medicine for coronavirus. You might experience this a lot when you're approaching a new situation, or you're learning a new topic in life, right? It's very different when you do something 10 times again and again and again. You don't really go through this experience. But when you learn something brand new, or you're going to a new room, a new location, I know that's myself. When I go to a new place, to a new group, my brain takes time to really figure out what's going on. I can't right away take a question. I can't right away deal with it. I just give me a few minutes to just internalize what's going on. That's how my brain works. It doesn't know right away what's going on. I need time for it to develop. So in using coronavirus, let's say there's these tremendous the doctors and scientists that are trying to discover a cure for corona, a new sickness that's there, and there's different methods in how to approach it. But when they first came out with them, each person figure out their method, they didn't understand yet how it works. They said, maybe this will work. Here's an idea. And I don't know exactly how it works, and I don't know if it'll work, and there's many problems that could come up, but it's an idea. It's a tiny idea without full understanding how it will help the body. There's new kind, it's like a brand new medicine. Or like you're learning something new for the first time. I hear it, but I really don't understand at all what it is. But there's something there. But I don't understand at all what it is. I need time to really digest it. A lot of times after class, people will say, look, Rabbi, this is a new idea. We learned a lot of new information. I can't ask a question because I really don't understand it yet. I haven't given myself the time I need in order to develop it, right? So it's a corona medicine. I know that this way, the scientific method, I think might work. I have an idea, but now we need to get another 100 doctors on board. We need to analyze it. We need to decipher it. We need to figure it out. And then we can do this new thing that's new to this world can then be figured out. So Chachma, I keep on calling it, I call it conception. He wants to call it here wisdom. I think, right? Yeah, wisdom. So wisdom or conception or the first intuitive flash of illumination is when you have an idea, but you do not understand the details of it at all. That's the first mother of creation, right? An invention. How many inventions? When you have a new invention, when inventors invent something new, they first have an idea, but then they work on it. Then you have the next level, which some people like to call it comprehension. In the Tanya here, he calls it understanding. In Hebrew, he calls it bina. Bina means understanding. Bina means that you crystallize the idea. Wow, this is an amazing idea. Let's figure out the details. Let's say in coronavirus, how will it affect the body? And how will it impact in 6 months from now? And how exactly is going to act with the other, how will it affect the blood? And will it have a future effect? There's all the details that come along with a brand new invention and a brand new idea. And by the way, there's a lot of people that are very good at one and not good at the other, I must say, right? You have people that are creative, artsy people who are very amazing at figuring out new ideas, but they're horrible at the bina, at the comprehension part. Like to say a lot of times men are maybe can figure out an idea. I know attorneys, it was interesting for me, I heard a few times, but they can't write a letter. They need their paralegal to break it down for them, or they need their wives to sit and write up the document for them, although they've gone to college for many more years and they understand the law, but they don't have the patience or the brain and the ability to sit and really break it down in paper and write it down. So a lot of times there's very good people who are good at one and at the other, very strong in wisdom, but they're not so strong in understanding. A lot of times a husband or wife or vice versa, it could be something one way or another, but sometimes the husband will have this idea and the wife will be able to bring it out, just like in pregnancy, right? So the husband has the first drop, but the wife carries it for 9 months and turns it into what it needs to be. The wife will maybe be, the husband might get very nervous from the children because he can't deal with all the details and the problems. And the wife will say, we'll step in and take care of it. Or vice versa, it could work both ways. But Bina is a much better grasp and a much clearer understanding and a healthy level of understanding that's necessary and needed. So when you want to know an idea, you first have to have the idea. And then once you have the flash of idea, Chachma, you move on to Bina and you break it down and you understand exactly how it works. And that is the first two elements. The question then that he's going to address is, then what does knowledge mean? Good, I got Chachma, I got Bina, I got conception, I got comprehension. But what does Das mean? And Das, he wants to say his application. Because like this, he's saying, look, you could know an idea, and you could have Bina, you could understand it very well. But if you don't apply yourself in life to it, it'll mean nothing. I remember standing outside Chabad once, and there was a doctor that was smoking outside Chabad. Another guy who had a mouth on him walks outside and starts screaming at the doctor. How could you do it? So this is brought as an example of Chacham min das. I'm not talking about this case. Maybe it was a one-time cigarette, but it's a famous case. Is that you could know something very well. There's a lot of people who know that stuff harms them terribly. But if it's not real, it's in theory. There's a lot of people live life like that. They know the damage they're doing, but they don't care. It's because they don't feel it's relevant to their life. It's not personal. They don't take it personal. So sometimes in life, a lot of times in life, it's good not to take things personally. But sometimes in life, it's a must for people to take things personally. You must take things personally. So, and it's good to take things personally because then you won't act on it, you won't care about it. It's good, you have all this information, you know it in detail. Not just you have conception, you have the comprehension, not just you have wisdom, you even have understanding. But it doesn't matter if you don't have the application, it's not real. I think maybe an example, I know I use a lot the alcohol example, the addiction. The guy knows what the alcohol does to him, he knows the damage it brings, but if he doesn't go to his AA meeting constantly, then he doesn't apply the information he knows. He knows good and well how damaging it is. But if he doesn't apply himself to the information, he can kill someone, God forbid, with a car because it's not applicable. So going to the meetings is what moves. Why do you need to go every day? Or you say, why do you need to learn Torah every day? Why do you need to daven every day? Because it's not even the conception and the comprehension. It's not the wisdom and understanding. It's the application that really, so in life, you might argue the application is the most important part of it. And that's what he's going to discuss in Tanya now. Let's see. And explain this idea because the intellectual soul, the intellectual part of your soul, right? You all have intellect, which is how we see life, right? Everything, I like to often say, everything's in our head. How we perceive the world, it's all in your head. The term in Hebrew for wisdom is chachma. And he says that's very specific, the Hebrew word, because chachma is broken up, is actually made of two words. It's made of koach ma. Koach ma means the strength of what? So wisdom is what is? It's saying, I know there's something here. It's a very wise person. He knows how to get in touch with very deep ideas. But if you stay there, it's saying, I know there's something amazing here, but I don't understand it in detail. So there's something, chachma gives you the ability, when you're a chacham, you're someone that studies and learns things and realize that there's areas in life which you need to decipher and you need to figure it out. So chachma is like actually someone who's studying because they realize there's something there that needs to be addressed. So ma means what? So chachma actually means it's like the unknown. It's discovering the unknown. I found a new planet. Now I have to figure out what's in that planet. Could it hold life? Could it not? So chachma is the one that figures something new. And then when you go from wisdom to comprehension, you start to think about this idea at length, in detail, right? You really get to know it, and you start to learn and study and discover it. You go to college for 4 years to discover this topic, and you really understand it. Then, ula'amkai, to its depth, which means the breadth and the depth. I see he's bringing in here in the note that King Solomon was so brilliant, he would give 3,000 examples in order to explain something. Because sometimes you have to dumb it down. But sometimes you need more examples to understand how wide the idea is or how deep the idea is. There could be, an idea could have tremendous length. What could electricity do? It could do this, it could do that. A concept could have depth and length and width. There's a lot inside it. So the wisdom knows it's there. There's something here, but the understanding, the comprehension really deciphers and dissects it and understands it in detail. Right? Doesn't just know it works. Understand how it works. Turn the light bulb on. How does the light bulb work? But understand exactly how it works. And you go to its very depth. But any intellectual idea that you want to comprehend, so your brain has two parts to it, two-part process. First, knowing that there's something there that exists that we don't know, and then nikra bina, it's called bina. Bina is the details, right? So the father, when a child's created, he gives a tiny seed, but then the mother takes that and it goes through in uterus for 9 months, and it gets fingers and a nose and legs and eyes and a brain and everything. God willing, Hashem will make a healthy baby. The Haim, Aveim, they're considered the father and mother. Hamelidas, who will then, if you have a very healthy, strong conception, comprehension, wisdom, and understanding, will get Avas Hashem B'yira Soyufachtai. It'll then start moving on to create emotions, because now that you understand it, you'll get emotions towards it. It'll get love of Hashem, fear of Hashem, and awe of Hashem, dread even, so that it's a real. You'll feel it in your heart. It'll be something that'll be. You'll really fear. The more you understand it, the more you're smart and educated in it, the better it is. You know how to experience it, how to feel it in your heart. Let's move on to the next Tanya, because we have to also cover tomorrow's Tanya, so we'll get a complete topic today. I really understand how it works. So, because their brain, the intellect that the human being has, that the soul has. So for example, he starts to think about God's greatness, and he's even going to give you some examples of the ideas that man can contemplate in thinking about God's greatness using these two kinds of way you process information. You learn how Hashem fills all worlds, which means that God is everywhere. And this meditation is that God is so amazing. He's so cool because he literally helps every person, and every person is so different than each other. Right? Which is one of the things I'm amazed by. I see different people and I'm like, how could that guy make a living? You know? Or how could he be married? Or whatever it is. How does this? And Hashem helps everyone in their situation. It's amazing. So Hashem develops a way, a life for every single person to be successful in his own way. You know? So, and gives every creature and every animal and everything in the world what it needs in order for it to live, right? Like if one person got another person's energy, it wouldn't work. If he got his life wouldn't work. So Hashem tailor makes the energy necessary for each person. Like for example, in our body, if our nose would start growing nails and our finger could smell, we would have a major issue. So just like the soul in our body has to give life for the blood that runs through our body that shares the life, can't give the energy that the nose needs to the eyes, and the eyes to the ears. Everything needs its unique energy. They're all alive, but they each need its unique program in order to sustain it. Also, every creature in this world, which means that Hashem is really intimately involved, meaning he knows every single creature what he needs and then creates life for that one. So you spend some time thinking about this and you're blown out of the water. You're amazed. You're in shock at the greatness of Hashem's creations of the world. That is meditating and thinking about and recognizing that God is involved in the smallest details, that we're important to God because God looks at us personally. It's a personal relationship between us and Hashem, and everything has a personal relationship between it and God. But then on the other hand, Saiviv Kalam, you also see another part of Hashem, a whole other kind of thought process that you think about the God's greatness, and that is that Hashem encompasses all worlds. Soiviv, it's another Kabbalistic terminology. That means, like a teacher, a professor in class is teaching 1,000 students, and he is giving this overall teaching, doesn't know the names of the people in his class, doesn't know anybody's name, but somehow they're getting information from him. Hashem, it's even more removed because God is infinite and beyond. It's like the student looking at the professor that they can't really have a personal relationship with them because they're so much greater than him. So here we're not recognizing that God is personal with us. We're recognizing in a sense the opposite element, that Hashem is infinitely greater than us. That look how great God is. He's not teaching 1,000 students, he's teaching 6 billion, 7 billion people. And how many millions of ants and crawling things and fish, and Hashem is like, God is like infinite. He's unbelievably amazing. So Mamalik Laman would be how personal we are with Hashem. Each of us are personal, have our own personal relationship. God wrote the Torah for me. And then Saivav Kalam would be God's energy is literally, look at the galaxy, look how many planets there are and worlds there are and stars, and Hashem is like infinite. It's unbelievable how brilliant Hashem, how beyond creation is. You're in awe. So, and they'll actually bring different emotions. Like the intimate Mamalik Laman, that Hashem has a personal relationship with me, might bring out love to Hashem. You'll feel a very strong sense of love to Hashem. Thinking about that God is infinite might be, whoa, I'm in awe. And I could talk to God, and God is so infinite and so big. And you can even meditate further how great Hashem is, that the truth is the world's nothing relative to Hashem. We're literally nothing, which really brings a sense of maybe awe and dread of Hashem, how powerful God is. So what's going to happen is when you use your wisdom, and not just your wisdom, you use your comprehension, you use your understanding, then your mind will give birth to Hashem's greatness. And this is a healthy human being, because we're not just doing mitzvahs because we have to. We're not just doing mitzvahs because God told us. We're doing mitzvahs because we're emotionally there, right? Great example is like when you have a friend, all of us have, think about that friend that you have in life who did so much for you. People in your life who have literally bent over backwards to assist you and help you and do whatever they can for you. And then they come and they ask you, Mister, can you help me? I need you to take me to the airport. And you like jump, so just tell me what time I want to be there. I want to help you. Right? I need you to help me pick up my car from them because they need help with something, whatever it is. You're going to run and want to do it for them. You love them so much. You know how much they've done for you. You're going to want to do it for them. Right? Or if it's someone that you're in awe by. The professor of the class who teaches 1,000 students, who's the greatest lawyer and professor, whatever, and so on, and he goes to law school, and he tells the student, I want to meet with you. I want to read your paper. And the guy's in awe. He's in shock. Whatever person in your life that you're in awe of, it creates a sense of awe of that person. You'll be embarrassed and humbled before the greatness of Hashem. So if you get this, you're not just going to do mitzvahs and Torah because you have to. Using your brain to learn and discover God is going to actually make you pachad Hashem believe by dread of Hashem in your heart, meaning it'll actually feel it in your heart. Your heart will beat faster when you talk to Hashem or you experience God because it'll physically affect you because you've been thinking about Hashem. Your brain does what a brain's supposed to do. It's supposed to affect your emotions. Or you could, play Xbox all day and get created ADD, and then that will affect your heart in whatever way it's affecting your heart. Or you can watch the news and get depressed because they're giving you wisdom and understanding about the way they're spinning it, about all the negative things in the world, and then get depressed from the look of this world. Like the word we had today, zoaphos. The prisoners were zoaphos. What happens is it affects your wisdom, it affects your understanding, conception, comprehension, and then your emotions are bombarded with whatever your wisdom and understanding is. But if you think about Hashem, your heart will go on fire. You'll be in intense love for Hashem, right? The friend who does so much for you, and you're appreciative of that friend. You want to help him back. You have a good emotional connection. You think about Hashem, how he's personally helping you, the Malakalam, and how Hashem is constantly there for you, and you feel great love to Hashem, the Gedulas Ein Cheker Baruch Hu, and you also think about Hashem's greatness, and your heart's on fire and fear and awe of Hashem. The Klois HaNefesh, we actually have it terms in Torah. It's called Klois HaNefesh. A person could reach a level of a yearning, of a drive, of a desire. Imagine having that passionate, heartfelt yearning to Hashem. So where does it reside in the body? Where do these strong emotions reside? Let's say you're a very emotional person. So this thirst for it, I want it. That comes from the fire that's in your soul. Let's go back to the 4 elements. Remember, we spoke about the 4 elements. The 4 elements, we explained that as negative. If you remember, they were because they were from the animal soul. But we're now talking about the godly soul. So how does fire, the element of fire, represent itself in the godly soul? That represents itself as not as an ego. That's how the animal will represent the fire. Anger, the emotion of anger, the emotion of pride. In the godly soul, the fire is a love for Hashem. So the heart is the fire, is the emotional place of the person, representing which is the element of fire, and that's a very strong emotions that you feel, that's created by the mind in the heart, feeling passion for Hashem, feeling passion for the person who helps you so much. You realize how much God does for you. You love him. Like it says, a student of the nature science affirmed, and the book of Eitz Chaim and Kabbalah say that where is the fire element? I guess because the person is made up of 4 elements. Oh, good. We get, the blood and the biological, but where's the fire? So the fire is the part in the heart. That's where you feel the emotions. Where's the water? Interestingly, Makar Hamayim. Where is the water element? Good. The earth we get, because the earth is the body. That makes sense. where's the fire? We just explained it's in the heart. Where's the water? That's in the brain. The water's in the brain, which is actually physical, biologically, physically true. There's a lot of water in the brain. Sometimes, unfortunately, you get too much water, and then it's not healthy. But the brain is full of water. The brain is cool, calm, and collected, right? The brain is like, let's process this. Let's get this information. No emotion here. We don't want any emotion in processing the information. Like it says in the book of Kabbalah, the wisdom and the comprehension, that's where the water is. That's the understanding. That's the cold logic. Which it's also can be the water of the godly soul. You do need logic to understand Hashem, where emotion is not there. But they go and they create emotion. So the wisdom, the conception, the comprehension, the wisdom and understanding are what create and generate these powerful emotions in your body. Well, we're only really explaining fear and love. Fear and love, the source of love is chesed, is kindness. That's really the source. If you want to get down to the source of the emotion of love that you're feeling for someone else, it's expansive, it's giving. And that comes from kindness. The fear, it's like you squeeze up, you're afraid, you close up. That is gevura, that's severity, that's strength. And even though there still are 5 more emotions, because we said there's 7, we're not going to discuss them all here. We'll explain them elsewhere because everything really comes from those first 2. It's expansive and contraction. Everything in life is expansive and contraction. The emotion of expansive, emotion of contraction. Expansive is the love, openness, feeling. You know, when you love, if you love yourself, you could love other people. It's open, it's including other people. Contraction is no, I'm only myself. I don't want to hear whatever is so on. I'm afraid. So that brings on the other 5 of the 7, which we're not going to discuss today. We're really discussing mainly now the mothers, the first 3, vadas. So then the question arises, well, if wisdom and understanding create emotions, why do you need knowledge? Why do you need das? What does the das do? Why is it important for the emotions to get why can we skip the 3rd mother? Wisdom and understanding, conception and comprehension. Why do you need application? Das, knowledge, we see in the Torah, it uses the term for intimacy, actually, between a man and a woman. We have in the Torah. And man knew his wife. So what's real intimacy? Intimacy is not just a physical act. Intimacy, I saw once in the jail because it said it's intimacy. It's that real intimacy is that you really feel close to the person. The act is just something external. Real intimacy is you feel intimate with the person. You feel emotional connection to the person. It calls the intimacy of Adam and Eve das, knowledge, because the kind of thought process of knowledge at this point is connection. That's really what it is. Why is connection so important? Because if you don't make the connection, you could be like the doctor who took 8 years of medical school and still does things he knows is wrong. Or like each of us, we know if I eat that donut on Hanukkah even, I know I'm going to be sick for the next few hours. If I eat too much donuts on Hanukkah, I'm going to be in very big trouble, but the information doesn't help us. But if we just got on the scale, maybe that information would help us. So you need to have, it's not enough in life to be a brilliant person. You can know the whole Torah and still not keep it. Or you could, so it's really about that connection. It's that bridge from the brain to the heart where that takes place. It's why the AA guy, the person in Alcohol Anonymous, goes every single day to there. What? He learned something new from 20 years. He's been going to Alcohol Anonymous. He learned something new from 20 years ago that he needs to go back. He's not learning new information. He's applying it. He's talking to people, living real life experiences from other people in order to make it personal. That's really what we're talking about. We're talking about you. Right? It's all about making it personal. So it's a very strong bond between the information and you. It's personal. And that's why we need to daven every day. Exactly the same reason we need the alcoholic needs to go to Alcohol Anonymous, because you need to say it again and again and again, because it needs to, when my father always repeated something, I'm like, enough already. I heard the same thing from you 50 times, but that's what really becomes part of you. And it's very real to you when you have the knowledge. Knowledge meaning not knowing knowledge, as we usually term it as, but as it really being effective and personal. We want it, Judaism needs to be personal. But you don't forget about it. Even someone who's the greatest scholar, is a genius, brilliant man, but it's not personal. He knows all about God and the greatness. If you won't consistently, continuously learn about it and study it and make it personal and real, you won't get this real love and fear. Only fantasies. Fantasies come and go. So you can watch a movie, be very inspired, and the next day not care. Because it comes and goes. It's not real. You know, the movie might have built the scene and created a very good information, and now it affects you, but that comes and goes. So what is knowledge? What is das? What's the third level, the third mother? It's consistently keeping it going. It's keeping that information something real and relevant to your life. It has in it the kindness and severity, strength, pirish, avavan, the love, yiravan, and the fear. And that is what keeps the Jew going when he has those three. So that, my friends, in today's class, is the breakup of the 10 attributes. Really, we broke it up into the mothers and the children, the 10 attributes of the soul and how it operates with the three mothers and the seven children. We explained something fascinating today. We always spoke about the 10 dynamics the world's created with. But we understand how it works, and we understand how it works personally in our neshama. When you have when you think of Hashem personally as your friend, just as much you care for your friend that did so much good for you, the information becomes personal and real. You'll be a very good Jew. You'll be a very happy Jew, a very comfortable Jew. You won't just be acting out of I need to do it because I need to do it, but you'll be acting in a way that I want to do it because I love. Just same way you have a really good friend who's asked you for something and you're jumping to help him. You also want to do mitzvahs and not do prohibitions because you respect Hashem and you love Hashem. Any questions or comments on today's fascinating Tanya, understanding how the breakup of the soul works?
Yeah, the only thing that I'll say, I've been listening very carefully. In modern marketing, the term that's used is cognitive dissonance, when the consumer knows one thing intellectually, but then they do other things behaviorally. And you're right in terms of buying things. So a lot of reasons that money is spent is because of cognitive dissonance. People can't either afford it, it's not good for them, et cetera, et cetera. I found that discussion fascinating.
It's very cool. Yeah, it's very interesting. So if I asked you which of the three is the most important, I mean, if you're missing any of those three, you won't get to where you want to go. If you're missing the third one, you might have first and two, but it's not personal. You don't care, right? Like you don't care. If it's not your kid, you know what I mean? If you see someone else's kid making trouble, you don't really care about it. Fine, I don't care about it. I'm ready to move on. But when it's my own kid, you know what I mean? Like, I'll give you a good example of it. A famous example that's brought down in Hasidic ideas, that this guy one time got a letter, and the letter was, he brought it to the town, and there was only one guy in the town who knew how to read. So they would always bring their letters to the guy who knew how to read. So a guy gets a letter, but he can't read it. He brings it to the other guy. The guy reads a letter, and it says to the guy who got the letter, your father just passed away. And the guy fainted. Who fainted? The guy reading the letter or the guy who was his father? The guy who was his father, he fainted. But the guy who read the letter, he could read it much better. He could actually see the handwriting of the original. He knows the information better than the guy who it's his father, because it's his own father. Understand? So, unfortunately, God forbid, something happens to someone and not you. You don't, fine, good. It's another piece of information. Move on. Das is making it that it's very important. So I can know that alcohol is bad for me, but if it's not personal, it's not me, then I don't care about it. That's the idea that's why das is so important. That's what he's explaining to Tanya. So to be a healthy person is operating from healthy emotions. You don't want to be in a marriage which you're just in the marriage because you have to be in the marriage. You don't want to be in a relationship with God because I have to. You want to be there because you love. So if you realize what your spouse does for you and you have the healthy mindset, which create the healthy emotions, I guess we'll be in a much happier marriage. We'll be much happier Jews if we serve Hashem from that standpoint. That is today's Tanya. If there's very good, David, thank you. What's it called? Dissident, what was the word you used?
Cognitive dissonance.
What is it?
Cognitive.
Cognitive dissonance. Okay, so that's a good marketing way to explain the idea in today's time. Thank you.
When you said that, I was thinking you meant politics.
What?
Not marketing, politics. That's what they do.
In politics, yeah. But that's it in politics. It's you. If this guy's elected, you're going to be struggling, like that. I guess that's the whole thing. It's all about making it personal, about how it's going to affect your life. Right. So that's a big thing. So
you were talking about, you're being accused of something and it hitting the fan and the papers and all, and then you having something in your pocket that accuses somebody else of something else so that they forget about what you did.
Right. So we had this with Yosef in the marketing, you think, too, because he pulled out another piece of information. It's amazing how these ideas are all relevant to today. It's all back then in the Torah already. Genius marketing we see already in how things Hashem's playing out in the world to take place. I guess the marketing could have learned Rashi and would have seen this idea about make up a new story if there's a story not working out well for you. You just come up with a bigger story and then they forget about what you did. Yeah, a lot of it's marketing. Yeah. All right. So basically, Judaism should be personal. We should realize all that Hashem does for us. Our personal lives, that it's personal, that it's God's talking to you, and the Torah is not talking as a whole, he's talking to you personally. At the same time, you should be in awe of Hashem, who is master creator of everything. And then what he wants to hear from us, we should stand before him in humility because he's listening to you and he's so great. And he's infinitely great. And that will bring to us a healthy sense of awe and love, emotional love, by using this talents Hashem gave us in our brain to teach our heart to be on fire. Have a good Shabbos. We'll see you all Sunday as we start the chapter 4 in Tanya, and also the new Parsha. Have a great Shabbos. We'll see you, and a good
Shabbat
Hanukkah.
Shalom.
Make sure to light the menorah before you light the Shabbos candles tonight. And you need long candles because they have to last an hour and a half. Right? Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Chag Sameach. Shabbat Shalom.
Evan,
Get the Yontif.
Shabbos Ira, and Shuki, and David Klein, and Ayal, and Harvey. Have a good Shabbos, everyone. We'll see you.